everyone. Welcome to Homeschool Autism Life. My name is Jamie. I'm very sorry I have kind of dropped the ball the last couple of weeks as far as my video schedule has gone, mainly because there was illness and it was one of those colds that it doesn't really you're not like super sore throat or coughing or whatever. It's just that you're exhausted. So I had hit that point where I was just like, I don't have energy for anything anymore. And so just doing daily life was enough. And I was checking it off as everyone got fed, no one died, I win. So I'm sorry, I want to say that right off the bat that I usually am very good. It's been several years that I've been doing this YouTube channel and I've been very consistent, taking some weeks off around Christmas, but other than that, I'm very consistent. In this week or this last couple of weeks, I just was like, there's no energy. I'm sorry. So the first thing that I wanted to share coming back was we are well into Gather Around Homeschools Living Off the Land. And I have been enjoying the history components. A lot of it, my girls are, getting a bird's eye view of what their ancestors did once upon a time. And I'm so thankful for that because, it's good to see what their lives have been afforded because other ancestors were willing to do this and, live in, a one-room hut with, like all sorts of non-amenities. So this was something that we've been doing, and we're like probably halfway through already. As far as assigned readers, so I assign readers to my girls. I haven't with Inara because she is doing an online English course with another teacher. So Sienna is the only one who's getting assigned readers, and I picked these two for her because they're kind of choose your own adventure type stories, but it's the Oregon Trail, which is I think if you can see the digitized peoples, painful. And so there's 20 possible endings and they're written by the same fella. And so once she's done reading these, then she will, as her book report, write a letter to the author about what she thought about these books. And I'm really excited to see what she says about that. As per my first statements, I have not been doing a lot of read alouds because that's one of the things that kind of gets put down low on the totem pole when I'm tired and exhausted and sick. But I do have plans to start reading the Swiss Family Robinson. We probably won't get all the way through simply because we've missed about half of the read alouds now, but I figured we could start and then we could finish off by watching the movie at the end of the unit. Again, I have a magazine rack to my left, and I always put different resource books that the girls can look at if they're interested or want to see stuff. So this is The Naked Scientist. This one is not so much living off the land, but it's kind of some jokes, some silliness, talking about animals and, the science of everyday life laid bare. So there's a few different things. And it's just like simple little tiny reads that are kind of silly and goofy and whatever. I've got survival hacks, over 200 ways to use everyday items for wilderness survival. I thought that's living off of the land. Bushcraft, this is a book my husband has had, just talking about how to use an axe, how to build a fire, all of that kind of stuff. This one I've had for quite some time. I don't even remember where we got it, but this is the Canadian Edible Garden, Vegetables, Herbs, Fruits, and Seeds. So absolutely living off the land. I got this book. So when I prepared for buying all of the books for the previous year, I didn't know when Inara's English course was going to be happening. And so I did get her this book, which she won't be reading unless she's interested. But this is The Oregon Trail, An American Journey, where in modern times, this fella literally built a covered wagon, or had. There's pictures in here somewhere. I am pretty sure I saw pictures. Anyway, I can't find them right now because they're being obtruse. Anyway, what he does is, oh, it's right in the front. So what he did was he bought or built a covered wagon, and he does the Oregon Trail in more modern times, and talks about what that experience was like, what sleeping in it is like. An incredible true story weaving a tale somewhere between travelogue and a history lesson. Buck traces the iconic path literally and figuratively as he recreates the Great Migration with his brother and a Jack Russell Terrier. I don't think they had a Jack Russell Terrier with them. Probably a bigger dog if they did. But I thought this was going to be a very interesting read. I did think about a bird, just two birds just landed in my wreath, and sorry, I just noticed. Interesting. I hope they're not trying to build a nest in my wreath. That's going to go badly for them. But anyway, it's a very cool idea, and so I thought that she could read that as her read aloud, but then, like I said, she's doing something else. Homegrown illustrated bites from your garden to your table. So this is talking about just how to grow a garden, which depending on where you live, we have these massive trees in our yard that they shoot out their Manitoba maples, I think is what they're called, but they shoot out roots twice as high or twice as long as they are high, and they just suck everything out of the soil. So I have tried valiantly to grow food and have failed miserably. So you know, there are times where it's okay to admit defeat, and I have. The other book that I have in here is Call of the Wild, and that's just a story of living through a snowstorm, and it's kind of a fun one that yeah, I wanted to, you know, make sure that the girls had available. I noticed they still like doing little things like that. So that is my plan, if you could call it a plan, for doing the lessons. I don't know if I've explained in a long while what I do after we finish. So I have a transition week between our two units, so that between the next unit that we're going to do, I have a week for transitioning to give me time to print off the books. But we also do testing. So I will write a test usually, just talking about the things that we discussed. Sometimes some units Gather Around has like review questions that I take the test off of there. Oftentimes, sometimes I'll have it in the back for lesson 20. They will have those kind of review questions. Sorry, I'm trying to get to unit 20. It doesn't look like they have it in this one. So what I'll do is I will go through the book and just talk about some of the things that we did, like, you know, what was something that the initial settlers had to do right away because winter was coming, or, you know, and then multiple answers would be acceptable as what, you know, I'm looking for as an answer. The other thing that I do is on the Gather Round website, they actually have a template, a grading template for just this book entirely. I found as time went on, my girls would try to sneak not doing some of the pages, and so this is a way for me to keep them accountable and say, okay, you do need to actually complete the work that is in this book. You get points for neatness, completion, spelling, complete sentences, all of that kind of stuff, and that's for me has become important because I want them to understand that this has value. It's not just something that we do and it doesn't matter, right? And then sometimes I will try and insert like some movies or YouTube videos, documentaries, that sort of thing, if I feel like that is a good way to boost up some of the understanding. So I think one of the, I don't know if it, I think it was a different unit where we watched some of the Little House on the Prairie, because that really kind of highlights some of the actions that they had to take as a family to survive, and how everyone was really involved, even the younger kids. And yeah, so that is my plan with me. What I do for my gather round units, I usually take about 6 weeks to complete, and then we move on to the next one. If you're doing this with a high school student like I am, I do have her, depending on what the unit is, I will call it, this counts towards your history hours, this counts towards your science. So reptiles we did, it counts towards her science. Living off the land, unsolved mysteries, both I put in the history column. So her hours are still calculated. The things that we do are still calculated towards her final credits. So I hope that this has been a helpful video. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.